Deep Understanding of Judaism and Zionism with Professor Israel SHAHAK in his book Jewish History, Jewish Religion, The Weight of 3,000 Years. Israeli Expansionism following. Although I have chosen an admittedly extreme example of the biblical borders of the land of Israel, which belong to the Jewish state, those borders are quite popular in national religious circles. There are less extreme versions of biblical borders, sometimes also called historical borders. It should, however, be emphasized that within Israel and the community of its diaspora Jewish supporters, the validity of the concept of either biblical borders or historical borders as delineating the borders of land which belongs to Jews by right is not denied on grounds of principle except by the tiny minority which opposes the concept of a Jewish state. Otherwise, objections to the realization of such borders by a war are purely pragmatical. One can claim that Israel is now too weak to conquer all the land which belongs to the Jews, or that the loss of Jewish lives, but not of Arab lives, entailed in a war of conquest of such magnitude is more important than the conquest of the land, but in normative Judaism, one can't claim that the land of Israel in whatever borders does not belong to all the Jews. In May 1993, Ariel Sharon formally proposed in the Likud Convention that Israel should adopt the biblical borders concept as its official policy. There were rather few objections to this proposal, either in the Likud or outside it, and all were based on pragmatic grounds. No one even asked Sharon where exactly are the biblical borders which he was urging that Israel should attain. Let us recall that among those who call themselves Leninists, there was no doubt that history follows the principles laid out by Marx and Lenin. It is not only the belief itself, however dogmatic, but the refusal that it should ever be doubted by thwarting open discussion, which creates a totalitarian cast of mind. Israeli Jewish society and diaspora Jews who are leading Jewish lives and organized in purely Jewish organizations can be said therefore to have a strong streak of totalitarianism in their character. However, an Israeli grand strategy not based on the tenets of Jewish ideology, but based on purely strategic or imperial considerations, had also developed since the inception of the state. An authoritative and lucid description of the principles governing such strategy was given by General Reserves Shlomo Gazit, a former military intelligence commander. According to Gazit, Israel's main task has not changed at all since the demise of the USSR, and it remains of crucial importance. The geographical location of Israel at the center of the Arab-Muslim Middle East predestines Israel to be a devoted guardian of stability in all the countries surrounding it. Its role is to protect the existing regimes, to prevent or halt the processes of radicalization and to block the expansion of fundamentalist religious zealotry. For this purpose, Israel will prevent changes occurring beyond Israel's borders, which it will regard as intolerable, to the point of feeling compelled to use all its military power for the sake of their prevention or eradication. In other words, Israel aims at imposing a hegemony on other Middle Eastern states. Needless to say, according to Gazit, Israel has a benevolent concern for the stability of Arab regimes. In Gazit's view, by protecting Middle Eastern regimes, Israel performs a vital service for the industrially advanced states, all of which are keenly concerned with guaranteeing the stability in the Middle East. He argues that without Israel, the existing regimes of the region would have collapsed long ago and that they remain in existence only because of Israeli threats. While this view may be hypocritical, one should recall in such context La Rochefoucauld's maxim that hypocrisy is the tax which wickedness pays to virtue. Redemption of the land is an attempt to evade paying any such a tax. Needless to say, I also oppose root and branch the Israeli non-ideological policies as they are so lucidly and correctly explained by Gazit. At the same time, I recognize that the dangers of the policies of Ben-Gurion or Sharon, motivated by Jewish ideology, are much worse than merely imperial policies, however criminal. The results of policies of other ideologically motivated regimes point in the same direction. The existence of an important component of Israeli policy, which is based on Jewish ideology, makes its analysis politically imperative. This ideology is in turn based on the attitudes of historic Judaism to non-Jews, one of the main themes of this book. Those attitudes necessarily influence many Jews, consciously or unconsciously. Our task here is to discuss historic Judaism in real terms. The influence of Jewish ideology on many Jews will be stronger the more it is hidden from public discussion. Such discussion will, it is hoped, lead people to take the same attitude towards Jewish chauvinism and the contempt displayed by so many Jews towards non-Jews, which will be documented below, as that commonly taken towards anti-Semitism and all other forms of xenophobia, chauvinism, and racism. It is justly assumed that only the full exposition, not only of anti-Semitism, but also of its historical roots, can be the basis of struggle against it. Likewise, I am assuming that only the full exposition of Jewish chauvinism and religious fanaticism can be the basis of struggle against those phenomena. This is especially true today when, contrary to the situation prevailing 50 or 60 years ago, the political influence of Jewish chauvinism and religious fanaticism is much greater than that of anti-Semitism. But there is also another important consideration. I strongly believe that anti-Semitism and Jewish chauvinism can only be fought simultaneously